Hi, Kerry here from MyCloud Bookkeeping. I work with small businesses and entrepreneurs to help them to manage their business finances using QuickBooks Online in real time. And sometimes I'm asked how to close the books each month. This is an expression that often dates back to the old days of more manual accounting, when it was necessary to do a journal entry at the end of a period in order to clear profit to retained earnings. Or if you've worked in a larger organization, they often talk about their close date each month as being that cutoff for recording transactions prior to running reports for management. Typically, in a small business where you have your bank and credit cards connected, you're entering things in real time and are less likely to need to have a lead time before producing your reports. That said, there are still steps that need to be followed prior to filing any sort of tax report, including your sales tax, payroll, or looking at your results to ensure that what you're looking at is accurate. I have a checklist down below you can grab to check off these items, and also stay through to the end and I'll show you how you can prevent accidentally posting to a period after you've filed your taxes and looked at your reports.
Here we are in our sample company, and the very first thing that I like to do at month end is take a look at an accounts receivable report, which previously was something that I used to go and run from the reports section over here. However, with the new AI that's showing up in QuickBooks, remember anytime we see this little circle thing, it's the AI, we now have this information right presented in front of us when we open up our QuickBooks. So here we have overdue invoices. I'm just going to click through here and it'll give us the opportunity to review them. So here we have the first one, Paulson Medical Supplies. It's giving us a list. It's showing us how we can send a reminder, which is kind of cool, but I wanted to look at a list first. So I guess we could just hit send the reminder to Paulson Medical Supplies, and let's see if it takes us on to the next one. Okay, well, this is really interesting and not quite where I was expecting to go with this. So I'm going to pop out and grab a report, which was where I would normally go. And as you can see, the accounts receivable summary report is right here. If you scroll down here, you see there are two reports right near the top, the accounts receivable aging summary, which has a little star, that's why it shows up the top, the accounts receivable aging detail, and we also have open invoices here. Now, I typically run straight towards the accounts receivable aging summary. It gives you a screenshot of what's going on. The first thing I want to see is there anything that's old? Because once something is getting old, you're less likely to be able to collect it, and that needs to be a priority for following up for cash flow. We only have one amount in the 61 to 90, not a lot in 31 to 60. So actually, let me just broaden this a little bit. I would say that our accounts receivable looks very, very well managed in this sample company. There's not much that's old and most of it is current. We also now could pop back and start sending some reminders, but this is the first place I always start because we don't want to have amounts owing to us getting old and then we're less likely to collect them. The next place I go is accounts payable. So I'm going to pop back to reports. And I typically just start writing payable in here, your accounts payable aging summary, accounts payable aging detail. But if you didn't do that, you would be scrolling down to what you owe. I guess QuickBooks thinks what you owe is a lot less important than who owes you. So it's a little bit further down. So I'm going to click through into the accounts payable aging summary. And we can see here, we don't have any really old amounts. We owe PG&E, whoever that is, $86, and that's 31 to 60. Everything else is pretty current. So when you're looking at your accounts receivable and your accounts payable, if there's something there and you think, no, I know that they paid me, or I know that I paid them, this is the other reason that you're looking at these reports, to make sure that what you're seeing is accurate, and you can double check that perhaps there's not something still sitting on the bank feed that hasn't been allocated, or perhaps something that wasn't recorded correctly. Now, the next area I'd like to look at is one that is a lot less common, but if you have any cash balances And it's so rare nowadays that people are having cash balances, but it could be petty cash if people are running out and buying things. I don't know, does anybody run out and buy coffee and stamps with cash anymore? I don't think so. I'm saying petty cash and feeling like a dinosaur. But also, if you have a shop with cash coming in, you want to take a look and see what the balance is. Now, let's take a quick look in our chart of accounts here. I'm not going to the balance sheet on purpose yet. I just want to see what's in here. We don't actually have a cash account set up in here. If you were receiving cash, you'd have cash in your register. And what you'd be wanting to check is the amount that's showing up here the amount that you actually have on hand? It's a good thing to check to make sure that you've recorded, all of those little stamp receipts, or that your sales are properly recorded, and that you've recorded your bank deposits. So that's the sort of thing you'd be looking at with cash. If you had a balance in your chart of accounts here for cash, you would be checking that against any cash boxes, registers that you had. In this same topic, I'm going to touch on briefly undeposited funds here. So if you had amounts that you had received but not yet deposited, that could be cash you've received, it could be checks in the drawer. Once again, highly unusual in this day and age. Or maybe it's kind of a clearing account for amounts you received payment from on credit cards that haven't come in yet. Take a look at this undeposited funds. It should be something that clears in and out pretty regularly, and if the balance is ever increasing, then you know you really do have a problem, and I have multiple other videos on this. It's important that you pay attention to it quickly, because your results will be wrong, your sales taxes will be wrong. It can create, I'm actually going to say, it can create an accounting disaster. How's that? So check out your undeposited funds. The other thing is, if you have a Shopify clearing or a PayPal clearing, do the same thing with those as you would for undeposited funds. Just make sure that they are clearing. The next thing we want to do is reconcile our bank and credit cards. So before we do a reconciliation, I always like to pop to bank transactions and ensure that all of the transactions up to the date of our reconciliation have been posted from this page. So you want to make sure this is clear. I'm quite impressed with the number of things that are matching in here. So if we were doing a month end for October, we would want to clear all of this out before we started doing our reconciliations, or actually even looking at those other reports we looked at. Perhaps that should have been the first place to start, is here on our bank feed. This is applicable for both the bank and your credit card. If we can scroll up a little further here, you're going to want to check on your credit card as well, and ensure all of these entries are in before you start doing your reconciliation. Now, there have always been multiple ways to get to reconciliation. There are even more of them now. So we're going to go from accounting to reconcile here. We can go from the gear icon to reconcile here. It's all over the place. So typically too, I see it across the top when we're in our bank transactions, which I didn't this time. So normally it's kind of across the top here as well. So just however you get to reconcile after you've cleared this bank feed. And then you're going to be comparing your statement ending balance to what's in QuickBooks. So you enter it in here, whatever date that statement is, you'll click Start Reconciling here, and then you'll have the option to match all of the items that you've recorded in QuickBooks to your bank statement. Now, typically, if your bank feed is connected and everything's working as it should, you'll be totally fine. You'll open it up and you will be done. Now, if that's the case, before you hit reconcile now, I would suggest you scroll and make sure there's nothing left unchecked. And if there is, investigate that. So that's my little tip for reconciliations. I do have another video on that, but basically you're just checking that everything in QuickBooks is also on your statement. While we're talking about bank balances, it's also a good idea to look at any loans. You can see in our chart of accounts here that we have a loan payable and we have notes payable. Now, if you've been making payments against your loan and you've been taking them directly from the bank feed and just categorizing them into loan payable, you've likely got a mixture of interest and principal payments in there. And if that's the case, two things will have happened. Your loan balance will look too low and you won't be capturing the interest expense. So it's a good idea, if not monthly, at least quarterly, to have a look at that loan balance. If you're doing online banking to get your statement for your reconciliation, then look at also what the loan balance is and ensure that you're capturing that interest so your profit number is correct and so you really do know how much you still owe for that loan. The next area is a lot of the reason why you want to make sure that everything is up to date at your month end. Part of the reason you want to check everything, it's so that you can go into your taxes section. Here we have a sales tax center that looks like a really old format. Is anybody still seeing this format? I'm quite surprised to see this. But this is sales tax. And if you're using payroll, you would also have payroll tax. So what I typically do before I file any tax reports is I look at what are the gross sales and I compare that to my profit and loss statement, my income statement sales. And then I look at the amount that's due and I compare that to the amount on the balance sheet. And we'll be visiting the balance sheet in a moment, but that I find is a very good way to ensure that what QuickBooks has pulled into sales tax is the same as what you've got in your reports, and it's a nice way to catch if you've made any mistakes. Now, if you have inventory, it's important that regularly you do count the inventory and ensure it is the same as your records. So I'm going to pop in here to the inventory valuation summary. You would of course be running this for the period that you're looking at your month end for. We've got today, you'd be doing this for last month. And you can see here I have 25 pumps, 2 rock fountains, 25 sprinkler heads, and 35 sprinkler pipes. Now, if my business really was this simple, I would run out the back, I'd take a quick look and see how many pumps, how many rock fountains, sprinkler heads, and pipes I have, and make sure that this inventory balance is correct. Now, if you have a gazillion little tiny things, or maybe a huge volume of not so tiny things, this isn't something that you'll be doing on a monthly basis necessarily, but it is very important that you not only ensure that you have all of these items on hand, but also if you have older things, that they still are worth what you paid for them. You might have something that's obsolete or that you no longer sell. If that's the case, your inventory here, this value, could be overstated. Obviously, here in the sample company, it's not a large number, but in your business, it might be. And it's important to know what the actual value of the inventory you have is. So after we've done all of this, note after we've checked all of these things, this is when we go and we start looking at our actual profit and loss. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know I always like to have something to compare to. So I'm running this profit and loss by month. And as usual, the sample company kind of doesn't have a lot of stuff for the beginning of the year. So I'm just going to change this to be July so that we're actually looking at real numbers. There we go. And here we have our profit and loss by month. I'm not going to do this now. I have another video that does it in detail. This also hasn't been corrected for cost of goods sold correctly. But looking at your profit and loss, look across the months and then just make sure that what you're looking at, nothing jumps out as strange. I have so many videos on looking at your income statement. So what I'm going to do to now is just pop it back to be the regular profit and loss, not by month, because then we'll be able to see that number through into the balance sheet. It obviously always works. It's QuickBooks software, but it's just a nice thing to double check. And we look down here further, we can see we've got our profit number, which is 1642.46. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to run our balance sheet. Now we could have run our balance sheet first and looked at all of the things above from the balance sheet. That is also an option. So just for the fun of it, we're going to scroll down now here and look at that number right there. 1642.46, just as we knew what would be. So ideally, if we've followed through that checklist and all of those steps, We've looked at everything here. We've reconciled our bank accounts. We've checked our accounts receivable. We've counted our inventory. We've reviewed undeposited funds and made sure that that is not going crazy. We haven't looked at our truck, but I'm sure we know that the truck's there. In our liability section here, we've looked at our accounts payable. We've reconciled the MasterCard. We've taken a look at our sales tax. And of course, we've checked that the loan payable doesn't include any interest. Notes payable probably won't have a lot going on in it, but it's here on our balance sheet. If you know there was a payment made or there's some interest to be accrued, just do take a look at that also. And then down into our equity section, I'm not going to pay attention to this accounts, like opening balance equity. It's a sample company, but we have also checked off our net income. So what you want to be doing when you're looking at your balance sheet at the month end is making sure that there's nothing on this balance sheet that you are not aware of or haven't checked. And that's how you know you're accurate. So now you can file your sales taxes, you can do your payroll reports, whatever else you need to do. And if you're a bookkeeper or an accountant, you can run the reports and give them to the business owner because you know they're accurate. So I did promise at the beginning to show you how to do that closing date. So if you pop up here to the gear icon and you select account and settings, you pop into advanced and you have the option, if we scroll down here, to close the books. Do you see here? So we can click edit and close the books. Then we get to select what date we want to close them. Now, I always do this at year end. Once my income taxes are filed, I close those books so I don't accidentally post anything back into a prior period. But what you could do if you wanted at the end of each month is you could say, I've entered all my transactions, I've filed my sales taxes, I've distributed reports to the owner. I don't want anything going in to this month, so I'm going to set a closing date. And we have two options here. Allow changes after viewing a warning and enter a password, or just allow changes after viewing a warning. You always go for the warning. If you have this password and something happens, the proverbial hit by a bus, nobody's going to be able to get into those books. I've seen it happen before where year-end accountants have put passwords in. Maybe it's the closing date, maybe it's the business number. If you're going to do that, just really make sure that you've made a note somewhere of what the password is, which almost makes it pointless doing. So I'm going to click save here and it'll be done. And then I'm going to show you what happens when we do try to put in an entry. So I'm going to try to create an expense in here. I don't know, maybe some guy just gave me a receipt from the truck that didn't appear on the credit card statement yet. So that's what we're going to say happened. So there was a payment from MasterCard here. I want to go to gas and oil. Yeah, let's just fill with the last one. There we go, automobile fuel. I was given a receipt for automobile fuel that was dated the 31st of October. And when I did my reconciliation, it didn't show up because maybe that was a Saturday. So let's just make that scenario. We hit save and close. Oh, look, it says double check the date. So what I might want to do so that I don't mess anything up is just, if it's not the year end, is just slip it into the next day and hit save and close. And that way we've kept everything up to date and we haven't messed up anything that we did for our month-end reports.
Does that give you a better idea of what to do each month and how you can close the books if you want to ensure that no changes are made after you've filed your taxes or run your reports? Is there anything else you'd like to know? Did I miss anything? Let me know below. Be sure to download the checklist, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.